I had to balance it as bad as I felt. And, as critical as you were in helping me to survive, I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you for, you know, the the entire bodyboarding community, especially San Diego bodyboarding. Guys like Joaquim, Gomez. You know, I would have been lost without those guys. The bodyboarding sessions with all of them, running around with the California Bodyboarding Alliance, Matt Kitchen, Opie. There's so many people I could rattle off names for the next half hour, but I owe them an extreme amount of gratitude. And I mentioned the Custom X Factory. I can't go without saying thank you to Kim Norick, the CEO of Custom X and Superior Foam Products, and PMA. You know, PMA, I wouldn't trade the experience working for him and learning from him for anything. I may never become a world class shaper, especially given now that I'm blind in my right eye, which hopefully will be rectified, but my vision will never be what it was. And PMA did an amazing job of trying to teach me how to become a shaper. It didn't pan out, but still working at the factory is an experience wouldn't trade for the world. And then, besides Custom X bodyboards, I have to give a big shout out to Jay and Vicky Reel and E Bodyboarding. They always supported me, whether, I was living in New Jersey, Brazil, here in North Carolina, out in California. And, I owe them a lifelong debt of gratitude.
Yeah, I mean, and as a bodyboarding community, everybody will step up. So I'm glad that you had the experience you had. Of course, everybody here will miss you and are missing you, but you always have a home here in San Diego, that's for sure.
Well, speaking of which, we've discussed it briefly on a couple of our glitchy episodes, but I'll be back out there for visits. I don't know if I'll ever reside in Southern California again, but you better believe I'll be out there to visit periodically. We're already working on it. April, I plan on flying out there for my 50th birthday. We still have to start putting together plans and more information for those who want to take part. But I'm looking yes, I am celebrating my 50th birthday, no less. Half a century old.
Well, check this out. January 4th, the Husky Boys, JG, Big Todd, and a handful of others are heading to the Palm Springs wave pool. We're
No
gonna,
way.
if it goes as planned and everything works out well, that could be an option for you when you come back out during that time. So I'm crossing my fingers. Not only the wave is good, but also the people that work there are kind. And if it seems like we can put something together that will be worth our time for your 50th birthday, then I think that could be a pretty good option to get some waves in the desert.
Well, I'm looking at this time frame. January 21st, I have my eye surgery. I'm going to be having corneal replacement surgery, as it's called. In my case, they are going to be taking stem cells from my left eye and then planting them in my right eye so that over the course of 6 months to a year, the team of eye surgeons I met with are confident that I should be able to regain most of my vision in my right eye. You know, for those of you who are wondering what the hell I'm talking about with my eye, and you haven't heard me talk about it enough, just to recap, I suffered a lacerated cornea in my right eye that caused me to go blind while I was bodyboarding in Oceanside. And this was over a year ago, and then you know, going to eye doctors, getting referrals for specialists, and getting referrals from them for eye surgeons and having to go to Duke University, which is one of the premier eye facilities in the country. It's been a long process, but January 21st, it's finally here. It's surgery time. 4 to 6 weeks after I have the surgery, I should be able to resume strenuous exercise so I can get back to training. I'll be allowed to get back into chlorinated pools and the ocean. And then from there, I'm looking at about a month of heavy training to get myself back in bodyboarding shape.
Yeah.
And then I'm flying out for my 50th birthday and plan on getting back out in the water for the first time in over a year and a half. To say I'm anxious and anticipating the moment I hit the water for the first time again is it I can't even put it into freaking words, bro.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, we're going to try to put things in place. If it's not the wave pool, we will do something either in San Diego or Northern Baja, something where we can get as many people to come celebrate uh, during that time. So, like I said, Chris and Ricky, what's up? They're chiming in. We got Roz, Jorge from Team Koki Bodyboarders also chiming in. So, Rick and Chris will be on that trip in January. And if that wave pool scenario works out, then we're going to do it that way. But it really comes down to what you want to do. So whether it's in the ocean water, the chlorinated water, or even in Baja, I mean, we can piece it all together.
Well, one way or another, I plan on being out that way. So I can celebrate my 50th birthday by celebrating my love of bodyboarding and my return to the water. I,
Woo!
yeah,
Maybe even a T Street day.
I can't wait. One way or another, we'll figure it out. Once we get past the new year, we can start putting together details. And I know had messages exchanged with guys like Matt Kitchen and Kevin Opry Broadley, and they're down to link up and hit the water with me. And it's like I'm really looking forward to getting back out in the water and having a circle of friends around me. But I'm looking forward to, in general, just share my stoke for bodyboarding and just get back to it.
Yeah, we're all going to be waiting for you. So, um, sending good vibes for your eye surgery for sure. And we'll be talking before then. We'll do another pit in, next week or whenever we can pull it off.
All right, cool. Now that I've bogarted the shout out segment, you got any shout outs you want to throw out, brother?
I mean, I can say thanks to so many people that supported me, and I think I'm just going to go back to Fran and the crew over at Thrash. Um, from the get go, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is I'm moving things around, and there's always a Thrash leash falling to the ground, or my board is in a Thrash bag. I already found the Thrash sweater in the closet, and I'm like, holy shit, these people who I have yet to meet in person are supporting me from across the Atlantic. So my shout out, I may have done it before, but I'm going to do it again. The crew over at Thrash have supported me and just taking care of me whenever I needed anything. And they know too that I am getting a few things that I'm able to give to a friends here and there. So yes, this week's shout out is going to go to everybody at Thrash for supporting me. Gosh, how many years now? A few years, over a few years. So that's my shout out for today. I mean, again, it just came upon me of all this Thrash stuff I have around me, and here's a thank you to the crew over at Thrash. So that's my shout out for today.
I seriously need to buy one of those hoodies.
Uh, it's getting smaller on me. Maybe I'll just wash it a couple more times and send it over to you, or I can just or I can put in another order and make sure I get your size.
Yeah, I may be landlocked out in the sticks, as some have said, but it's like I always say, man. You know, I'm only an airplane ticket or a road trip away from the next adventure. And even being here in Charlotte, North Carolina, it's the outskirts of Charlotte, I have no problem rocking bodyboarding companies. You,
Yep.
you'd be amazed at how many people here inland talk about, taking weekend trips to the beach. And,
Yep.
I've had multiple conversations with people and shown them photos from our trips, and they think it's the coolest thing ever, man. And
Yeah.
being able to, spread the stoke of bodyboarding this far inland, like 3, 4 hours drive to the coast, that's
Holy shit.
that's pretty killer.
I did I know you were that far away from the coast? Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm about a 3 or 4 hour drive to Wilmington, North Carolina. And if I want to head up to the top of the Outer Banks and get to like Kill Devil Hills or whatnot, I actually have to drive north and then drive east, and it takes about 8 hours to get to the Outer Banks.
Holy crap.
So yeah, I'm pretty landlocked. But like I said, I'm always down for an airplane ticket or a road trip somewhere.
All right. Well, let's get over that. Let's get the surgery nailed down. I'm sure it's gonna go very well. And then freaking get on the plane and let's make shit happen in 2025.
Definitely. Yeah, I can't wait. Anyway, now that we've got shout outs out of the way, let's get into some news. Since this is kind of a recap episode, I wanted to jump into something that's been a touchy subject with me for the past couple of years,
Oh shit.
the IBC World Tour. As critical as I have been of the World Tour itself, I think it's only appropriate to celebrate our world champions for 2024, because you know what, they are carrying the flag, so to speak. They are representing the sport, they're representing their countries, and in a lot of cases now representing the modern generation of bodyboarders. And I love seeing this. There may be some animosity between me and the IBC and the way they run the show, but first and foremost, Begonia Martinez. She has truly evolved as a commentator. 10 years ago, she would joke around that, she was my protege. If that was the case, the student has surpassed the teacher. She her her birthday was last week, and I even took to social media to state it properly. She continues to perfect her craft, and she has become a guiding light for the sport of bodyboarding. I love the work she is doing, and I wish her the best of luck. I have nothing against her. My gripes are with the tour itself, but the job Begonia is doing is phenomenal, and the competitors continue to push the limits. Not only are they pushing the limits out in the water, they're expanding the visibility of the sport, you know, in places once upon a time we never would have imagined. This year we have two new world champions from the Canary Islands. Back in 2010, when the Red Bull Wild Wild Wave was held at Fronton, the first Fronton bodyboarding event, I don't think anybody imagined it would have this kind of effect, this kind of result. And, I still stand by what I said last year and throughout the course of this year. Everybody needs to watch out for the French contingent, because that French connection, they're making their presence felt. And, if you're not careful, they're going to overtake everybody. You know,
Yeah.
and in general, overall, what's going on in Europe, the explosion of talent and prevalence of the sport of bodyboarding is phenomenal. I love it. You know, it, it makes my desire to get over to Europe for the first time that much stronger. It's like throwing kerosene on a campfire.
I mean, when you have your coach as one of the most feared competitors back in the day, Nicholas Capdeville, as your coach, and then you put in the raw, fearlessness of the young crew, put that combination together, of course you're going to have a pretty strong contingent coming out of France. I mean, it's going to be a beautiful sight to see these coming years.
Well, let me get into the rundown of this year's champions. As I was making some notes before we went live, as I am tend to do. And this year's men's champion, Armidi Soliveris, Canary Islands. The Canaries, Spain finally have a men's champion. A lot of people look at Amaury Laverne, but they forget he's originally from Reunion Island, which is a French territory. He may reside in the Canaries, but he's a Frenchman. So Spain, the Canary Islands getting their first Spaniard world champion, that's a major milestone for our sport. This is a new chapter. So quite literally tip my cap to Armidi. Congratulations, well deserved.
And just a side note, I have been in contact with Armidas and he is ready to have the interview, but he's so, if he's not competing, he's 100% involved in his studies. And it was the same thing with Ethan. When I had to coordinate a time with Ethan, it was all about his studies. So we had to work around that. And that's where I am right now with the current world champ as far as getting an interview. He knows we're ready. It's just a matter of time for him and I to coordinate around his schedule with his studies. It's going to happen.
And then continuing on this train of thought and on this note, the junior men's champion, also from the Canary Islands, Alexander Montes. So not only did we see our first men's world champion from the Canary Islands this year, also saw the first junior men's world champion from the Canaries. You know, so if the Canary Islands weren't on bodyboarding's radar before, they've been served notice on the competitive level that's present in the islands.
I mean, you have waves like Confetal, Fronton, Agujero, La Guancha. These are all freaking heavy. They can be, well, Fronton, obviously, but they are all reef breaks where these guys are growing up riding. So if you can grow up riding waves like Fronton, of course you're going to be able to, be a couple notches above the competitors that roll into your town to compete in these types of waves. So, I mean, it's a breeding ground. It was just a matter of time.
I tell you what, you will probably never see me ride Fronton because my young and dumb and I don't give a fuck days of hurling myself into crazy waves are kind of behind me. I'm trying to take it a little easier just because I don't bounce like I used to. But thanks to the IBA days, I would love the opportunity to ride El Confital. And even more so, I would love to see Confital back on the world tour as an event. You know, I would love to, see like a triple crown of the Canaries put together.
Yep.
I think, it's quite possible and it really needs to happen.
I agree. They got the waves. Why not?
So, with that said, getting into the women's side of things, this year we had Myra Viana take the women's world title, her first world title. I have had the good fortune of watching her compete when she was younger while I was living in Brazil and working on the karaoke tour and working the world tour events in Brazil. And you could tell she had talent. It was just a matter of time and whether or not she was going to be able to tie it all together. This year, It all came together. Parabéns, Myra.
Another side note, I did reach out to her, and her English is not up to par, according to her. So I asked her, I'm like, okay, let's get a translator involved and make it happen. She says, okay. So again, it's just a matter of timing where we get her interview here on Boog Life. And also back over on the tour and commentating, she was one of those riders. I think the Brazilians, whenever Brazilians show up to compete, they are so razor focused on competing. They're not out partying, getting shit faced days before their heats. They are stretching. They're out at first light, getting as much practice as they can on that wave, wherever the event is, and they show up for business. Maida was one of those riders that I've seen day in, day out that is right on point with Brazilian competitors. She shows up to win, and the time has come.
Well, we both know, and a lot of people know, that from day one of the inception of competitive bodyboarding, the Brazilian women have been on point and dominated the sport. There are more Brazilian women's world champions than every other country combined. And, that continues, from top to bottom, which we're going to continue to discuss because not only did we get to see Myra Viana, become a first time world champion in the junior women's, Luna Hardman won her second pro junior world title. Those of you who have been hiding under a rock and don't know who Luna Hardman is, she's the daughter of five-time women's world champion Neymar Carvalho. Luna herself now has two pro junior world titles, and she finished in the top five in the women's pro. I've been saying it for a couple of years now. Keep your eyes on Luna. I continue to state that. I cannot overstate it. Luna Hardman will be a women's world champion. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when.
And not only win, but how many times. It's definitely in her blood. She will be a world champion. I'm going to say multiple world champion for sure.
And then tying it back to the origins of women's bodyboarding, the Masters women again, Mariana Nogueira. Mariana has now won multiple Masters women's world titles to go with her three world titles that she won back in the 90s. Back in 1992, 1995, when the women's world championship was decided and a standalone event at Pipeline, and then 1998 she won the world tour. So, she is right up there with Neymar Carvalho and Isabella Souza as one of the most prolific women's bodyboarders in the history of our sport.
Yeah, I mean, it's in their blood. The Brazilians have always been right up at that top.
Yeah. And then last but not least, your strong point, your forte, drop knee. Sammy Martino, the former Super Grom, has now claimed his fifth world championship. Between him and Dave Hubbard, nobody has been able to touch that world title, that world championship trophy. Dave is a 10-time drop knee world champion. Sammy is halfway there, and Sammy's still in his, I believe he's only 28. I think he turned 29 this year. Been watching this kid since he was 12 years old, and him and Dave, in my book, are the most versatile bodyboarders in our sport right now. They can
Yeah.
prone, they can drop knee, they can stand up. I'm pretty sure if you gave them a McDonald's lunch tray, they'd go out there and shred on that too.
Most likely. Well, I mean, they come from the island of champions. The island of
I
Kauai has produced I don't know how many world titles.
I don't know what's in the water in Kauai, but there's something magical. You know, you probably have to delve into some Hawaiian mysticism to figure that all out. But yeah, between Jeff Hubbard, Dave Hubbard, Sammy Martino, and going back to the roots, the competitive drive of the Kauai Classic bodyboard team in the 80s and 90s, you know, and even newer writers like Ariana Tabano. Yeah, it's just unbelievable the level of talent that comes out of that small island.
Yeah, and they're not stopping with the Hubbard brothers and the likes of Chris Burkhardt and other former bodyboarders putting together these events. Pohaku is another, organizer of keeping the competitive bodyboarding alive on the island of Kauai. There is going to be more raw talent coming out of that island for sure, and more world titles for sure.
Yep. And, so to all of this year's world champions, kudos. You have my full respect. Thank you for pushing the sport and just being a great example of competitive bodyboarding as an athletic sport. And I can't say enough.
Yeah. Well, um, I want to segue into competitive bodyboarding and talk about the pipeline event where invitations were sent out, and somebody did get an invitation by the likes of Alfonso Aguilar, sorry, from Mexico. My, I'm going to do whatever I can to help fund his travel to Hawaii because he's one of those guys that, if properly funded, could be up in the ranks, definitely in the top, in the top percent of competitive bodyboarding on the world tour level. I mean, the reason why I'm bringing this up is he is invited, and I wanted to throw it out to everybody and say, hey, 5, 10, $20, $100, whatever you got, message me somehow, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, here in Boog Live, wherever you can, and say, hey Manny, I got some coin I want to throw out to Alfonso. I'm gonna shout out, try to get these guys over at who are coming on the wave pool trip on January 4th to also chip in. But this guy, if you have met him, he's one of the most down to earth guys, and to see him at Pipeline would be absolutely amazing because he does not hold back. And to see him not only get barreled, but he's going to be doing this kind of stuff if he gets the opportunity at Pipeline. So
Well, Manny,
again,
I will say it right here and right now. You can count on me to chip in, and I encourage everybody else to do likewise.
yeah, I mean, I would love to see this guy at Pipe. I'm going to be throwing out an email and text messages to the gangs, and say, hey, let's help this guy out and get him to Pipeline. And expectations are going to be zero. He's just going to go there and do what he can do, and we'll be happy with that. Representing Mexico, and one of those riders who, you know given the opportunity, could be a force to reckon with on the world tour. So that's my little 2 cents. I want to just help in any way we can to get this guy over to Pipeline.
I
Thank you,
tell you,
Jackson, for that.
I tell you what, Manny, it's guys like this, and also guys from the older generation of bodyboarding, like Mike Stewart. I find myself drawing inspiration from both sides of the age spectrum these days. Watching the older guys like Mike Stewart still pushing his limits, but then seeing what the younger generation is doing. If this isn't stoking you out, you better check your fucking pulse.
Yeah. So I mean, this guy's ready. Let's do what we can to give him a shot at Pipe. So expect a message from me, and yeah, we'll make it happen. Thanks, Jackson.
All right, and this is a point in the podcast where we usually have video of the week. I didn't really pick out one just because it's been a while since we've done our last podcast and had a video of the week. There are so many good videos to watch on YouTube. The new Jeff Hubbard solo session at Pipeline is a must watch. There's countless others. Breaking TV continues to post up stuff from Tanner McDaniel, last year's men's world champion, as well as Craig Wetter from California. There's been some incredible footage coming from the wedge. So all you have to really do is, you know, surf around YouTube, so to speak, and there's no shortage of quality bodyboarding video to dive into. So when you're done watching this episode, have at it, boys and girls.
Yeah, I mean, also another great source of bodyboarding videos, of course, webodyboard.com. They are the epicenter for bodyboarding videos. I mean, you won't have to do a search in YouTube. You're going to find amazing stuff there. But if you want your one-stop bodyboarding video location, webodyboard.com has over 10,000 bodyboarding videos for you to check out. So definitely put them on the list. And yeah, Jackson, we can spend all day just going through and shuffling through um, some of the best videos on Wii Bodyboard. So yeah, check them out for sure.
Oh, definitely. And just like that, Manny, we've actually run about 30-35 minutes on this episode.
Well, I
And
mean, the first 25 minutes was your intro, which is beautiful. I'll take it.
well, the point I was getting around to is it only took like what 6 years, but we sorted out the technical issues on my end.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I wanted to share one more thing before we leave. And this goes out to results times 13. I was rolling around, I was scrolling through uh, Instagram and I found this thing. And it came across my feed and I was like, holy crololi. This is freaking crazy. Results times 13. Tell me what you think about this. Louis Finnegan has went on beast mode. This was uploaded December 4th, but I mean, he is on another level. And I think, look at this. Jackson, weren't you doing that before you left San Diego?
Yeah, no,
But
I
just
got
shout out to Louis for, going all in to making his body the best it can be to be able to do the things he does out in the heavy conditions that he loves riding. So Louis Finnegan, he is on another level. Before we leave, you know what? Let's show that one of his latest clips. I think it was this one. Since we got you, but I mean, honestly, when he says when Bradley Norris whipped him into this, it didn't feel like I was going to pull into a closeout. It felt like I was in the channel on the other side of the wave racing into a oncoming left. It's so crazy how deep you can get out here. So to be able to do that with as much confidence as possible, yeah, you're going to want a body like that. So yeah, Louis Finnegan, freaking keep doing what you're doing, brother.
love it. Especially after he had gone through some injury issues. To see him bounce back, and come back stronger and more fit than ever. Yeah, that's truly impressive.
Very. And that's going to be you in April.
I don't know if I'm going that beast mode, but you better believe I'm going to be training my ass off so I can get back out in the water and not be sucking wind.
Totally. I think we are all going to try to get into that mode when you do come out.
So, with all that said and done, you know, the weekly motivation is simple. All of you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2025. With that said,
We're out. Thanks, Jackson.
all right, Manny, love you, brother. I'll catch you on the flip side.
Got it.